During the 2026 World Cup, 19-year-old Lamine Yamal repeatedly broke through the right flank, helping Spain lift the FIFA World Cup once again. Under the gaze of a global audience, his fingers shaped three numbers: 304. That is the postal code of Rocafonda, the working-class neighborhood on the outskirts of Barcelona, where he grew up. For a young player standing at the absolute peak of world sports, the gesture went beyond celebration. It sent a clear message that despite his global fame, he remains deeply rooted in his home community. On the other side of the world, 17-year-old Quan Hongchan dropped from a 10-meter platform in Paris with almost no visible splash, becoming one of the defining figures in Chinese diving. At just 17, she became the youngest athlete in Chinese sports history to win 3 Olympic gold medals. When asked in interviews about her motivation, she spoke openly about her initial drive, explaining that she entered diving primarily to win prize money for her mother's medical treatments after a severe road accident. On paper, these two athletes belong to entirely different worlds, one originating from the European professional football pyramid and the other built by China's state-funded Olympic machinery. Comparing these two prodigies, both born in 2007 to humble families, opens up a compelling, broader question. While both possess extraordinary physical talent, examining their career trajectories reveals two fundamentally different engines of athletic production. One model relies on a decentralized network where local communities and open markets share the financial risk. The other is a state system that concentrates public resources to select and develop a small group of elite athletes. Turning a talented child into a world-class athletic is never a simple fairy tale. At its core, it is a high-risk investment with an exceptionally high failure rate. Lamine Yamal followed a classic bottom-up path. At age 3, his football journey began on the concrete pitches of Rocafonda, a common gathering spot where children from immigrant working-class families first learned the game. As the child of African immigrants living on a tight budget, his family could never have paid the expensive club fees or private training costs required by elite private sports academies. In Spanish football culture, raw talent does not need elite institutions from day one. Neighborhood pitches, local scouts, amateur clubs, and regional tryouts form an accessible, low-cost network that continually spots talent early on. Instead of being bought outright by elite clubs, prodigies are first noticed by their local community before gradually moving up into higher-tier scouting systems. As Yamal's potential became undeniable, FC Barcelona brought him into their famous La Masia Youth Academy. This was more than just athlete development. It was a calculated investment where the club provided housing, education, and world-class coaching to back an individual with extraordinary potential. The business logic works because the economic value and transfer fees generated by a single breakout star easily cover the costs of the dozens who fail to make it. European football relies on this surrounding ecosystem of community clubs and commercial markets to distribute and absorb the financial risk of player development. Quan Hongchan's journey unfolded along a completely different track. In sports with limited commercial market value but high Olympic medal potential, such as diving, gymnastics, and weightlifting, China relies on a centralized, state-led system. From local sports schools to municipal, provincial, and national teams, the entire progression is structured and managed by the state. The state covers training, housing, meals, and competition expenses, while managing nearly every aspect of the athlete's career development. For working-class families, this offers a clear path toward upward mobility. Yet the core logic of the system is not to distribute opportunities evenly, but to concentrate resources heavily on the few athletes with the highest medal potential. Disciplines like diving, gymnastics, and weightlifting fit this structure well because they take place in highly controlled environments. They do not depend on broad popular participation or commercial leagues, but rather on technical discipline, coaching precision, and years of repetitive practice. These sports also divide into numerous weight classes or specialized sub-events, allowing a country to collect multiple medals across different categories with a small group of elite athletes. Quan Hongchan is a classic product of this structure, driven by her phenomenal natural talent, but equally supported by a system optimized to maximize Olympic success. Here lies the underlying contradiction. While this engine excels at generating gold medals, it rarely creates a broader sports culture among the general public. Its strength lies in lifting a few individuals to the top of the podium, rather than making physical activity a daily habit for the majority. This raises a fundamental puzzle. How can a nation of 1.4 billion people dominate the Olympic medal table, yet struggle to build a broad grassroots base in popular team sports like football? The answer involves much more than tactical skill or coaching methods. It turns on how a society manages financial risk and structures human capital. Football cannot be mastered inside a controlled laboratory or carried solely by a handful of isolated prodigies. It demands millions of registered players, regular local leagues, persistent youth coaching networks, and a population that embraces sport as part of everyday life. Raw population figures can be deceiving. Having 1.4 billion citizens does not automatically translate into a large player base. The decisive factor is how many parents are willing to let their children take on the severe risks of a sports career. In Chinese society, the standard academic route remains the safest and most reliable path for social advancement. From an economic perspective, general academic schooling equips children with versatile human capital. Core academic literacy and cognitive skills retain value across the job market, allowing young people to adapt if top university offers do not materialize. By contrast, specialized sports institutions build highly specific physical skills. Intensive training routines leave little room for general academics, while increasing the likelihood of chronic athletic injuries. This narrow skill set lacks flexibility in the broader economy. If a young athlete fails to break into the top 1% of professionals, those skills become difficult to transfer into the broader job market. Upon leaving competitive sports, former athletes often confront educational gaps, limited job prospects, and tough economic realities. Many are forced to start over in unrelated fields, managing persistent physical ailments while seeking stable income. This risk explains why many parents hesitate to commit their children to full-time sports development. For athletes in specialized systems, serious career and life risks do not end on the podium. They often begin after retirement. Choosing full-time athletic training requires accepting a heavy trade-off, sacrificing formal qualifications while betting on a career path with slim odds. As a result, sports are mostly treated as an extracurricular bonus or casual hobby, rather than a viable life trajectory. What holds back grassroots sports participation is not a lack of interest among youth, but an understandable choice by families to avoid an unhedged financial risk. China did attempt a top-down solution during the football boom of the 2010s, when major real estate developers funneled massive capital into high-priced international stars and coaches. Yet this top-heavy growth model collapsed as soon as property developers pulled back their funding. This collapse highlighted a clear reality. Concentrated capital works well in controlled individual sports, but neither government directives nor private real estate money can buy a substitute for low-cost community participation. Beyond educational incentives, a deeper physical constraint comes down to urban real estate economics. While outdoor grass sports thrive across Western cities, urban populations in China often favor indoor, low-contact or space-efficient activities. This choice is not driven by genetics, but by urban density, high land costs and modern property development patterns. Western cities often feature lower urban density and decentralized municipal planning, making it easier for local governments to maintain public parks and open playing fields. In contrast, Chinese megacities operate under intense population pressure and high land values, prioritizing commercial and residential construction. In this environment, dedicating 7,000 square meters to a single public football pitch carries a massive opportunity cost compared to higher density developments. Consequently, sports that flourish naturally in Chinese cities are those that maximize spatial efficiency, such as basketball, badminton, table tennis, and 8-ball pool. Urban design shapes daily habits. The spatial footprint of a city dictates which sports are accessible and sustainable over time. As land values rise, sports participation becomes a competition for urban space. This physical spatial limitation continues to reshape the broader structure of national sports. Public funding can build dedicated indoor facilities for individual sports, but top-down planning cannot replace the organic street-level involvement required by major team sports. Differences between Western and Chinese sports cultures go far beyond simple event preferences. They reflect how different societies allocate financial risk, public resources, and urban space. Western commercial sports face rising costs and commercial pressure, yet they still maintain local community entry points. Young people can begin playing in local parks, school teams, or municipal clubs before deciding to commit further. China's state system reaches gold medal success with high efficiency, but offers fewer safety nets for athletes who fall short of the national squad. While a few champions stand on the victory podium, many more face educational gaps and challenging career transitions when their playing days end. Framing this contrast as a simple debate between Western freedom and Chinese state control oversimplifies the issue. It reflects how different systems develop youth talent, distribute long-term risk, and manage physical space. Lamine Yamal represents a system where local communities nurture talent and commercial markets share the financial risk. Quan Hongchan represents a public model that concentrates resources on specific high-yield events, lifting exceptional individuals onto the world stage. Both models produce world-class icons, but they pass the burden of failure down very different paths. The central issue is not simply counting Olympic medals or qualifying for world tournaments. What matters most is how a society enables ordinary people to engage in physical activity as a natural part of daily life. When sports exist only for a select group of elite athletes, they become an exhibition of technical performance. When sports permeate neighborhoods, schools, and shared public spaces, they transform into a living culture. This is the fundamental divide between the two approaches. When a system consistently produces champions yet struggles to foster widespread participation, it raises a key question about how we define athletic success. What do you think? Leave your thoughts below, and I'll see you in the next episode.